your source for news from NAB 2018. Indie Shooter, brought to you by Akidio, Band Pro, Blackmagic Design, Carl Zeiss, Panasonic, and Schneider Optics.
Hi, Clint with Indie Shooter, continuing on our coverage of NAB 2018. Walking down the halls of Central Hall here, and I meet Philip. It's Galler, right?
Yeah.
Galler, and the company is Lux Machina. Now, we did an interview with you last year at CineGear, and you were talking about you guys essentially make LED effects and practical in-camera effects for feature films, and specifically, I was really hot on it because you had done Rogue One and then another Star Wars movie that you could talk a little bit about right now. But let's talk about it's Lux Machina. Lux Machina. Talk a little bit about what you guys do.
So yeah, we create, engineer, and execute immersive environments that help push the boundaries of our like visionaries or producers' sort of creative imagination. So for us, that means sometimes we do large projection services that surround sets. Sometimes it means we engineer large broadcast environment screen systems. So it kind of runs the gamut from film work to live broadcast and permanent installation, sort of everything in between.
So this is becoming more ubiquitous in the industry as people are wanting to do more practical type effects. Now, let's talk specifically about what we can talk about as far as like what you've done recently.
So some of the most recent work we've done is involved what is called Formance process. Has sort of become I'll call the tagline for it, or immersive environments, which is basically taking large sets or land vehicles, typically it's done with cars, those kind of things,
right.
Surrounding them with LED in some capacity and creating interactive reflections and lighting generated by content that's been captured previously. So a lot of the movie work we do involves that type of workflow, and it really helps provide a tool both creatively and visually for the visual effects department and for the director of photography, as well as for the cinematographers, the actors who feel like they're really involved in a scene. So it really provides a level of quality that raises the bar for every department on a film set.
Now, the idea here is that instead of having a digital artist afterwards go through and create like a little light streak or something like that, or a reflection streak, you guys are actually creating. Is that less expensive for production to do?
I think in some instances it is. We get asked that question a lot, but it really varies depending on like how big your setup is. But most of the time, we find that people doing just like traditional Formance process work, where they'd go out on a trailer, this is about equivalent to or cheaper than having to do process trailer work, and you can churn through scenes much faster. You don't have to wait for it to turn into night to do a nighttime scene. You can literally just change the content to a nighttime scene, and you're there instantly at the push of a button. So it saves a lot of time and practicality on set, and that's becoming really valuable these days.
So the film that we were talking about was Han Solo. Can you talk a little bit about some of the things?
I can talk a little bit about what we did. Obviously there's a lot of large sets. There's a lot of large small speeder vehicles or large other vehicles that are used throughout the set, and we were brought in to do a little bit of work involving projection and LED to create. Obviously we do immersive environment work, so to do some sort of immersive work. That's about as close as I can get to explaining what we did, and I, looking forward to May being able to tell everybody a little bit more. But it was a really awesome project for us, and just from the dedication of everybody who really wanted to do practical effects and really enjoyed working with the team of visual effects artists.
So looking back on the history of film, and this is why it's good to know this stuff. Like, say for instance, Kubrick in 2001, he used to they would have a glass curtain, is what it was. It was like glass beads, and they had a projector on the rear with practical stuff in front, and people are kind of returning to that, but utilizing big LCDs, right?
Yeah, basically that's the idea. Is that a lot of films want to use driving plates, and they already have the driving plates they've shot, and typically you'd go in and you do green screen replacement with driving plates. This methodology instead uses projection or LED, and typically it's a car. We'll put cars in, and we'll surround the car in 3 or 4 different sides of LED, or sometimes it's just 2, depending on the cost and budget. We'll move them around and we'll change the content up, and that really gives us a lot of flexibility while we're shooting. We can go into almost any space. We don't have to be on a process trailer, close down streets. We don't have to deal with permitting, none of that. It's have a space, set up some LED and projection, make something look as realistic as possible, get really good response out of your actors because you're able to iterate on something over and over and over again without the danger of driving down the street, and then change content between, like I said, nighttime or daytime, or outdoor, indoor, whatever it might be. So
the other production that you were talking about, which everybody's been waiting for over at Netflix, The Irishman, Scorsese directing, De Niro, Pesci, and Al Pacino.
Yeah.
So what? This was set in, I guess, in the 60s, 70s?
Yeah. So it's a period piece with a lot of vehicles in it. So there was some work. We teamed up with PRG to deal with a bunch of the poor man's process style work, the modern version of it, doing some immersive playback. So it should look really cool, and I think it saved them a lot of time. It rains a lot in New York City. The weather's bad, so it's a great way to avoid having to figure out how to dress your set, your actual street in period piece, but also how to deal with inclement weather. It's a really easy setup to go to when you're not sure if you're going to be able to shoot on the actual street because it's icy or it's raining or whatever. So works really well for that kind of application.
Now, beyond these films that I can geek out with you all day, you guys do a lot of broadcast stuff specifically for the award shows, right?
Yeah, that's actually why I'm here at NAB, and part of what we do is we actually help. When we go and we approach a film project, we actually bring broadcast gear in, and that's actually given us a really good technical edge, and it's one of the things not many of the other companies who deal with what we deal with on the immersive side know how to do, and it's because we also deal with engineering broadcast shows for screens producers or produce them ourselves from a creative screens point of view. So, some of our shows that we've done over the years have been like the Golden Globes and the American Music Awards and the VMAs and iHeartRadio, and like pretty much 50% of the U.S. award shows we have some hand in terms of engineering or programming or executing in some fashion. So that's why I'm here, is to figure out what new technology we need to bring into our workflows over there, and then figure out how does that adapt to our work in film, the film industry.
So you guys are based in Los Angeles, right?
Yeah, we're right in Burbank, yeah.
And do you work on smaller productions, or is it always these large productions?
No, we work on productions that range from $0 all the way up to hundreds of millions of dollars. So oftentimes people will come in and they want to use this as a cost-saving mechanism, and we can absolutely do that. And we cost engineer all of our solutions for our individual clients because not everyone has hundreds of millions of dollars. Some people have $1 million, but they want something that looks as good, and we can help bring that to them for sure.
So if people want to find out more about Lux Machina, what should they do?
They should go to our site, www.luxmc.com, or email me or at info@luxmc.com.
All right, thanks a lot, Philip. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Your source for news from NAB 2018. Indie Shooter. Brought to you by Akidio, Band Pro, Blackmagic Design, Carl Zeiss, Panasonic, and Schneider Optics.